Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. QCast 5 coming at ya, answering the questions you've always wanted answering. Andy Gillard here, hope you're keeping well.
Matt Guy here on a beautiful British summer's evening.
Or summer's daytime, when you're listening to this.
Could be.
So, last week, we had the double header of City of Angels and Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Like, I have actually listened back to the podcast, and I found listening to the podcast a lot more fun than actually watching both of those films. Stu, what did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I listened to it back walking along the beach, and I was giggling to myself, even though I obviously knew what was coming next.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was the stuff talking about Nicolas Cage's terrible Italian accent and the likes. Just it brought back memories of a terrible film, but an enjoyable chat.
Absolutely.
Did you enjoy it, Matt?
And I think that's what. I did. To be fair, and I think when I go back and watch that film again in I don't know, like 5 years, 10 years for pure morbid curiosity, I'll probably find it more entertaining knowing how we kind of poked fun at it.
Yeah, obviously that is available in the archives. Please give it a listen. So, film news this week. Milan has been announced as going straight to video on demand on Disney Plus. Apparently, Bill and Ted 3 is going to be a cinema and VOD release on the same day. Stu, is this the beginning of the end for cinemas?
I think the beginning of the end of cinema started about 3 years ago. It's just, especially with, we're going to time this now for people listening in the future. But if they are gonna make people sit there for 2.5 hours with a mask on watching a film inside, who in their right mind is going to do that? Really, it's bad enough wearing a mask in shops and stuff like that, but I think that doing that is just another. Especially when you don't have to if you're eating food, so you can just eat popcorn for 2.5 hours and they can't say a single thing to you. But again, you're bending rules to go and do something that's supposed to be fun. So it don't really make much sense to me when you can sit in a pub all day long and not have that problem. I presume the budget on Mulan's pretty high as well, looking at the trailer, even though it's not one of the Disney films I know much about, other than Mulan Prince Studio that me and Mark had on PC. It's you move something like that, then what's next? And we all know that Tenet's going to be moved again, because if they can't get the shit together and open things properly, then I don't really see the point, to be fair.
Yeah, I get we need to wear masks and make sure that we're protected and safe and what have you. But could they have just pushed back cinema opening a few more months? I mean, obviously we're not paid to make those decisions. The budget, just for your awareness, $200 million for a straight-to streaming service film. A lot of money. So, Matt, how would you get people to start going back to cinemas? Obviously, once we're through the pandemic and we're back to some sense of normality, what can cinemas do to try and get more people through the doors?
I think for someone that isn't, up until now, the local cinema for me in Wolverhampton has been pretty cut and dry. It's a cinema only. There's not a lot of facilities. They've had a big revamp. Cineworld Cinema to 4DX and all the rest of it, but to make the process of getting drinks, getting food that much easier in a la a Wetherspoons app kind of way, where things become a lot more self-service. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if you can make the experience much more of almost like a date-like scenario, like you have drinks brought to you, like if every cinema was licensed, would be fantastic. I can't stress enough how much I love the Everyman Cinema in Birmingham, which is it's fully licensed. You can have pizzas and food, and it just makes it more of an experience. And I think films alone now are just not enough. And I know you hate it, Andy. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. But films aren't enough now for people. We live in such a society where things are that disposable that things need to be experiences, and I think that's how cinema is going to have to tie itself in as an experience more than what you're seeing on screen to get the filthy masses in.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's no secret I don't want to be smelling some fucker eating a Chinese meal halfway through a film, but I do understand that people do want that experience, and cinema for me it sort of falls in between two camps. It doesn't really cater for me who wants silence and just the experience of watching a film, and it doesn't cater for the people who want the social side of it either.
Yeah.
It tries to serve both masters and fails miserably in both aspects.
Well,
So,
yeah, I mean, what I will say to that, especially on the licensed bar thing, and I don't know if this falls more into the category of the content that I was watching at the time, but Metallica did S&M 2 on the big screen. And a while back they did Through the Never in, I think it was 2013, on the big screen, cinemas across the world, and they did a live presentation but then showed the show, and it was like the big four of thrash metal. Especially for S&M 2, because you had people drinking, it ended up turning into almost a gig-like atmosphere inside the cinema. But I haven't paid the money to watch them sing in the crowd. I've paid the money to watch Metallica do their show, and that is a bit to me. So I don't know if you're absolutely right. You know, I think you get to the point where, because people are eating and because people are drinking and having a good time, does it then become people are on dates? They're not there to watch the film. They're there to just enjoy themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. But then it's taken away from the people that are there just to watch the screen presentation.
yeah.
I think that they're really missing a trick with this. That you could just have, I don't know, one screening per day of not the same film, just rotate it every day. Have one screen and just put, like they have audio description films, and you just put it as social. Just put a little addendum saying social next to it, and then you can go in there and you can piss about and you can have a little natter between yourselves and all have a good time. And the film's background noise, and it's a meeting place. As long as everyone knows what you're going for.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because, I mean, when you think about it, if they was to have older films on that people have already seen, they can still get money for people coming through the door, but people aren't going to mind that they're not watching every word, aren't they?
Mm.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You could have a social screening once, so maybe not every day, have it just once a week, one on a Saturday night, one on a Friday night, or something like that. Just something. I've never heard of anyone do that before. So
the nearest to that would be something like the Prince Charles Cinema in London, when they have the quote along versions of The Room. So people go and they'll say, "Oh hi Mark" and everything along, or they'll do the sing along Rocky Horrors. So you do sort of expect that bit of interaction, but it's quite a London centric thing. I don't see many of those outside of the Prince Charles. That seems to be the best cinema, who does try and cater to the audience, knowing you're going to get your film geeks and you're just going to get your people who want to have a laugh and a piss around, as you say. Yeah.
I mean, as it was, if you wanted to concentrate on a film, the best way to go would be like at 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon when there's no one else around, and you know full well that the people there are there to watch a film and nothing else. So you've already got the audience who want to pay attention, and you've got the audience who don't want to pay attention. So it might be an idea. It'll never happen, but it's an idea.
Yeah, but I think ultimately cinemas are going to need to try and do something to get people back in. The other bit of film news that I saw this week, apparently Michael Jackson was lobbying to play Charles Xavier way back when the X-Men series first started, and Patrick Stewart got the role. So I've got a list of 4 different comic book characters here, as yet uncast, that will probably be coming to cinema screens in the near future. I would like you to give me a musician for the role. I'll give you the superhero and I'll tell you who I think should play that role, just so you get an idea. So the first superhero I've gone for is the Green Lantern. I've cheated a little bit here, straight off the bat. I think Donald Glover would be a really good choice. I'm a big fan of Donald Glover. I know he's a musician and an actor, but he's the kind of actor where actually he can do the straight face roles, but he can also do good comedic stuff. So I'd be quite happy to see him as Hal Jordan. I think he'd be a really good choice. He's a bit handsome, he's a bit suave, he's a bit cool, but he's also a bit dorky. So I think Donald Glover would be a perfect choice. Stu, who are you taking for Green Lantern? It doesn't need to be the Hal Jordan version. You can pick any Green Lantern you want.
Cisco.
Okay.
Said with such conviction as well.
No, just because Cisco is a massive geek as well.
Yeah.
When he's been in Legends of Tomorrow and stuff like that, and he wasn't that bad, but he's got a bit of a laugh about him. So why not, Cisco? Bring him back.
Cool. I can dig that. Matt, what about yourself?
Oh man, you're gonna. I'm gonna struggle here because unless it's someone that's heavy metal, I don't think anybody in the audience is gonna know who it is. so I'm gonna pass this one. Who's your next one?
Okay, so the next one is going to be my favourite character, the Joker. I don't think he's been cast in the Batman film as yet. I would have gone with the thin white Duke version of David Bowie. Obviously, Bowie's no longer with us, so the next best thing is going to be Jarvis Cocker.
I want to go for current modern day Mick Jagger, who's going to kind of do his performance and he's going to run around and he's going to do his flamboyancy.
The hands in
with an added psychopathic twist.
Yeah, rocking the heroin chic look. Stu, who do you reckon?
Justin Hawkins.
Excellent choice.
Bit of the darkness, yeah. Love it. Poison Ivy is the next one. I've gone with a bit of a Batman theme. For me, there's only one. It's got to be a bit of Swiftie. Taylor Swift, Poison Ivy. Stu, were you agreeing with me there?
Yeah, Taylor Swift all day long.
Yeah, dye her hair red, job done. Matt?
I want to go for, and I'm going to have to use my time machine now, but my ultimate boyhood crush, I'm going for Debbie Harry, back in the day when she was a sex icon. Just because I'd see it and you probably wouldn't see me out of my bedroom for the next 3 days. Solely the reason, purely for selfish reasons. So there we go.
See, I thought you were going to go with Hayley Williams.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shout.
That rocky edge. She's a bit cool as well, so I think she could pull off something like that.
I reckon you're probably right.
Yeah. And the last one, this is someone who has become renowned for one specific actor, but he's now going to need to be recast. The one and only Wolverine. Now, I'm going completely out the box. I'm going for Robert Smith from The Cure. Just bang a beard on him, that big, massive hairdo. He's a little bit chubby as well, so I think it would just make for comedic value. I think Robert Smith's the man for Wolverine. Stu, who are you going for?
If you're going for comedic and chubby, then it's got to be Jack Black, obviously.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Tenacious D's own Jack Black. Yeah, I like that. Matt?
Might be a bit niche, so apologies, especially if we've got anybody over the pond listening to this. But Simon Neil of Biffy Clyro would be my pick.
Yeah.
He's quite a rugged Scotsman who I think would give it a bit more of an edge. Not more than an edge, obviously, than existing, but I think we'd go with that. And I'd like to see this Scottish Wolverine rip apart Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Fantastic. Yeah, they do need to set the X-Men in Scotland. I think that'd make for a much better film. So we've had some questions come in on the Twitters. Matt, would you like to let us know what we've had?
Yeah, we've had quite a few, so it's going to be quite quick fire this. So the first one is from our friends at I Hope You Suffer podcast. I love that title as well. They want to know, so I'm going to ask Andy, who would win in an actual cage match? Cage from Leaving Las Vegas, Cage from Left Behind, or Cage from Never on Tuesdays?
Right. I've not seen Left Behind yet, so I can only answer it on the two films that I do know. Also, going on that name, I Hope You Suffer, I do wonder if that's named after the AFI song. I wonder if it's anything to do with that.
We'll ask them the question.
Yeah, I'd like to know the answer to that one. So yeah, based on the two films, obviously Leaving Las Vegas is the film about Nick Cage where he's at his lowest ebb and he's just trying to destroy his life basically and drink himself to death. And the other one, the Never on Tuesday, he basically rocks up for a 30-second cameo with the weirdest looking makeup and prosthetics on you've ever seen, with the oddest laugh. Like, this guy has genuinely killed people before. So I think it's going to be the Never on Tuesday Cage myself.
Excellent. Thank you to I Hope You Suffer for that. For another one of our friends at Bad Dad's Film, at dads_film, want to know. I'm going to hit you with this one again, Andy, and then I'm going to give a couple to Stu. They want to know, what exactly were the mechanics of the donkey dragon sex that had to take place in Shrek for them to have dragon/donkey baby hybrids? Now, these are the big questions in film that people want to know. So tell me the answer.
I mean, it's a difficult one to get your head around, because surely the dragon vagina would swallow donkey whole.
You'd think so.
It's like he would have to get inside there and release his seed in order to impregnate her. But I think it does lead on to an idea about odd couples in cinema. Because there have been a few over the years. There have been some decent films with odd couples. So have either of you two seen the film Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed. So obviously that's a film which is about a man falling in love with an AI. And for me, that's probably Scarlett Johansson's best performance, even though you don't see her in the whole film. So I think that's quite a good odd couple. I'd also say Let Me In, or Let the Right One In. Let Me In was the American remake, wasn't it? Which is obviously about a vampire and a boy. That's quite a good one. Film. And my favourite odd couple, Lars and the Real Girl. Have either of you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that, no.
Okay. So it's what's his name? Ryan Gosling. Let me just double check that to make sure that's correct. Yeah, Ryan Gosling plays Lars. He's a man who he suffers with some kind of social anxiety and some mental health issues. He becomes something of a hermit, and in order to reintroduce himself into society, he tells people that he's got a girlfriend, and then when he finally introduces the people to his girlfriend, it's a sex doll. It's like, and it's such a moving story about how he relates to other people and how they accept his girlfriend, air quotes there, as this sex doll, and how he uses this to reintegrate himself into society. It's funny, but it's not played for slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
It's like it's proper comedy with a heart. Lovely, lovely film.
That's your wheelhouse, isn't it, as well? That
proper indie sort of, very much up my alley. Without giving spoilers away, the girlfriend becomes ill. Actually, a bit strange. And when she becomes ill and you realise that she might die, there was a woman in the cinema who started to cry because it was so affecting the way it was played. So Lars and the Real Girl, it's the oddest couple and probably one of the sweetest films you'll ever see.
What was that fish film that won the Oscar?
Oh Christ! It was really BioShock. Kind of not inspired. Oh, what the hell is it called?
You have to describe it to me. I don't even know what you're on about.
It's like she finds. I think she works for the Nazis or something, and she finds this fish monster thing.
Oh, The Colour of Water.
That's the one.
Yes, the good film that was. Guillermo del Toro, big fan of his work. Yeah, that's a very fucking weird couple. Very sweet as well, though. Lovely film.
So we've got a couple of questions now that I think is in Stu's wheelhouse now. So Simon Gold wants to know, quite simply, Stallone or Schwarzenegger?
Oh, for God's sake. Schwarzenegger for me. Just because there's more scope for ridiculousness there, which I know is exactly what he's trying to say. So, yeah.
Okay. Difficult one, that one.
I want to ask a quick side question. Jingle All the Way. Why is it the best Christmas film of all time? Because
no one can find a Turbo Man doll. You still can't get one now.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm glad you gave me the answer I wanted then. So my next question: who was the better Superman? Todd DeWitt wants to know. Friend of the show, Brandon Routh or Henry Cavill?
Well, was it 2 weeks ago when I got flack from Dean for slating Man of Steel, which I didn't. I just said it wasn't as good as the trailer. Brandon Routh is more of a cuddly Superman, which is what the old films were, and he kind of played the same thing in the crossover as well. So Brandon Routh for me.
Okay. I'd probably edge towards Cavill myself.
Of course you would.
Yeah, just because I'm contrarian. I I'm a big fan of Brandon Routh anyway. I think he's fantastic. And I'd say if you get chance to watch the Scott Pilgrim table read that is on YouTube at the minute, do it. Brandon Routh is fucking brilliant on it. But Cavill for me edges it just because I prefer the fact that he's playing his version of Superman, whereas Routh is playing Christopher Reeve's version. That's the only reason I'd go that way.
But Toddy's missing the obvious answer that he's Dean Cain.
Could be. Well, Todd, I want to hear your reply to this. We might even get you on for a soundbite to give your rebuttal to this slander from Stu. Andy, I want to know, or I should say, David Evans has a bloody good question. He wants to know, will the Marvel franchise last post-Endgame? Marvel slowly built up a blossoming relationship between character and audience with the original lineup. Will the audience have the patience and desire to do it again, given the key characters are not in future films? Great question.
That's a very good question. Marvel sort of struck gold in turning some B-list characters into A-listers. Like Iron Man was always just there. He was never really one of your main guys for Marvel Comics. And they also found the right actors to fit into these roles. As they now start to step away, Marvel luckily have now been able to get back the Fantastic Four and X-Men franchises. So that does give them the chance to replace some of these big hitters with some other characters who have already sort of established, who people will know, who can step in. As a comic book geek myself, I've been following these stories for decades. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for people to stick with it for the next, was it 4 phases we got in the end, for the next almost decade worth of films. I think people will stick with it. As long as the stories are good enough, people will still turn up.
Okay,
so
good.
I think it'll still be there, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So final question from Ash Dolan. Stu, which film, despite critically and generally panned, do you absolutely love? For me, Armageddon is top-notch garbage, scientifically laughable, cheesy, and over the top. But damn it, if I'm not singing Leaving on a Jet Plane or laughing at Buscemi every damn time. So Stu, critically panned, but you still love it.
Just for the behind the scenes, Andy's shaking his head, knowing exactly what I'm going to say, bro. I'm not going to go Transformers. I was going to say Crystal Skull just to get a reaction, but there's a lot of these things. There's too many to list because I like rubbish. I don't know why. I was even just looking over there. There's just certain. Obviously, you've got to say The Room because that's the answer of all answers. But Sharknado probably. Even though it's made to be rubbish and things like snakes on a train and things like that, they're made to be like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it more than I should have done for a B movie film.
Yeah, that first one is I say legitimately good. It's a legitimately fun film. I think when they try and become a bit more in on the joke in the sequels, it very much loses its luster for me. But yeah, Sharknado's cracking.
I want to ask a question, one of my own questions, just before we wrap up with the fan questions. And thank you very much for everybody that's sending them in. Please continue to send them in because we do like to have these kind of on-the-cuff questions, quick-fire answers. Have either of you seen Be Kind Rewind?
Yeah.
Jack Black. I really like this film, and it's pretty. I wouldn't say it's absolutely rated, but it's kind of got a middle 6 out of 10 rating. Rotten Tomatoes 65, Metacritic 52, and I just think it's massively underrated. I really enjoyed it. It's a really novel concept, and I think it's really sweet. And I just wonder what your thoughts were. It's probably been a while since you've seen it because it's not something that you go back to year after year. I don't know what your thoughts were on it.
Yeah, I saw it at the cinema, and even though it's very much my kind of film, it didn't hit a chord with me.
Didn't strike it for you?
No, obviously it's a film about the love of film. It's indie. It's written and directed by Michel Gondry. It's my kind of thing, and it didn't do it for me. For me, if I was going to go and watch a Michel Gondry film again, I'm going back to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, personally.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that film one bit. I don't know why, because I really should have. It might have been one of them situations where it was right film, wrong time kind of things.
Yeah.
And I need to be in the right frame of mind. But saying that, I've tried that with Lost in Translation about 4 times, and I just can't.
See, no, I quite enjoyed that, because again, it's that indie sensibility that generally works with me, and Lost in Translation ticked my boxes. Have you seen that one, Matt?
A long time ago. I probably need to watch it again. Another film that is like kind of sweet, bittersweet as well. Have you seen 50-50?
Yes.
God, if I don't cry my eyes out every time he gets wheeled into the operating theatre and his mum's with him. Oh my God, it's getting me now thinking about it. It's proper like it takes a lot to get me going, or not a lot in terms of being the ultimate disaster movie, but but yeah, that's one of those things anyway. But we move on.
You know, there's the one that always comes up with these things that's kind of revisionist history, but Blade Runner was absolutely slammed when it came out first.
Yeah,
it was a massive failure. It was on the VOD on videos and stuff like that later on.
Yeah,
and it got popular. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why, because it's amazing, and the sequel's very, very good as well. But yeah,
I even don't hate the third one, if I'm honest. I think it's a half decent trilogy.
Third one,
Blade
Runner.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about Blade.
So I don't remember Triple H being in Blade Runner.
Oh, did you see that Triple H tattoo today? I'll retweet it. Like, it was amazing. Someone's got a proper like shoulder sleeve of Triple H on his full colour and everything. But although technically you are right, there is a Blade 1.5, but it was a game.
Okay.
An old game that was remade last year, I think. But
I think I had that on the PC.
Yeah, it's an very old PC game. There's other big games though. There's one that me and Goldie both love. It's a Bond game with Daniel Craig in. I think he got about 5 out of 10 or something like that. And it was how shit that new Fast and Furious Crossroads game looks.
It does look bad.
It was a PS3 game that looks better than that now.
God.
I can't remember what it was called now. But it was like a third person. It was like a knockoff kind of Uncharted kind of thing. Okay. Bond game PS3. Let's have a look. But yeah, it was a proper middle of the road kind of. I can't even. What was it called? Bloodstone. That's the one.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
James Bond Bloodstone. It was it was very, very good. Surprisingly.
One to find in a bargain bucket near you.
Yeah, it's a 99p special, that one. So, on to the normal questions of the week. First question, as ever, what have you been watching? I'll kick it off. I've actually had quite a busy week. I've got what have you been watching, listening to, and reading? The IDW miniseries of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mighty Morphin Power Rangers crossover. Really good book. Phenomenal art in it. Check it out. Really good. Listening to, over the last week or so, Mark Kermode's podcast, which is Kermode on Film. They did a 3-episode arc with him and Jack Howard discussing ranking the 10 Christopher Nolan films and discussing it. Really interesting stuff. Check that out. And what have I been watching? Obviously, Does It Fry after our last chat. Umbrella Academy 2. I won't give any spoilers because obviously it's brand new. Really enjoyed it though. But there are 2 films I need to bring to your attention.
Okay.
Right, the first one is a documentary on Netflix called Miss Americana, and it is about Taylor Swift.
Right.
And I am not lying, it is fantastic. It is such a well-made documentary. It's talking about her writing and producing her, not her last album, because obviously that was only released a couple of weeks ago, which is excellent as well, Folklore, fully recommend it. But it's her album before, and it's interspliced with stories from her life over the last few years, like the trouble she had with Kanye West when he was a bit of a prick coming onto stage, when she was in court, when she was trying to sue that guy who groped her in public. And it's just talking about her life, how she deals with, how she has issues with surrounding depression and eating disorders when the media pick on her for being too heavy, too light, too female, too masculine. And the way she struggles with it, and it's such a well-made, heartwarming documentary. And you also see her working through how she writes a song, and it's quite inspiring to see an artist do their work. It's brilliant. And from the sublime, I'm now going to go to the ridiculous with a Sharknado-level film called Money Plane. I don't know if you've heard of this one. It is fucking bananas. It's it stars Adam Copeland, who you may know as Edge from WWE.
I'm in.
And Kelsey Grammer and the Joey Lawrence and the Lawrence brothers, who I think were famous when they were kids. And it's basically Edge plays a con who is trying to create a heist. He gets roped in by Kelsey Grammer, who is the big bad of the film, and he makes him go onto the money plane to try and steal this cryptocurrency. And it's shot on a plane, but it's clearly not a plane. Like, you can see there are fucking windows in the wall and stuff, like it's a normal room, and they've just put curtains up to try and hide the fact that it's not a plane. It's awful, but really, really fun. It's about 90 minutes long. I think it's on video on demand, so you can probably find it on your Amazon Primes and the likes.
Nice, love it.
So it's only been out a couple of 3 weeks, and I was recommended it, and then the first scene, Edge turns up, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's just go. And yeah, it's wonderfully batshit. Stu, what have you been watching, mate?
And something about wonderfully batshit. I watched a film from 1986 called Back to School, which is Rodney Dangerfield. In the IMDb breakdown, to help his discouraged son get through college, a fun-loving and obnoxious rich businessman decides to enter the school as a student himself. So it's very much in the kind of Caddyshack, Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's, that kind of, not Weird Science, that kind of comedy. Things that would never ever get made now. Fletch as well, if you've seen that. If you like them kind of films, then that's exactly what it is. Turn your brain off for an hour and a half and just enjoy the sometimes sexist, sometimes other isms as well, but obviously of its time. But yeah, it's just absolute madness and nonsense. And he's an old. He was a swimming professional. That was his aim as a kid. And obviously things conspire to when he's older, and his kid's not on the swim team. He's just a tail assistant and all this stuff. And you can't really. It's one of these. It's like Airplane, where you can't really say anything without spoiling it. So it's just you want something even more ridiculous than that. What you just said. Then you give that a try, or the others in the series. The other one that I watched the other night is a documentary on Netflix called. Let's find it now. It was that important. It's the guy's been on Rogan as well. He was on Rogan last year. It's called Bob Lazar, if you've heard of him. Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. It's a documentary. Yeah, exactly. It's a documentary about a guy who worked on alien technology and what the government did to shut him up. And it's all been accounted for and backed up with different sources and everything. And I watched him on Rogan. I watched the Rogan episode this afternoon, and you think you get a load of wackos and these kind of things on the History Channel and ancient aliens and stuff like that. But this one's, it makes you want to believe. It's that good. It's actually really well made. And it's narrated by Mickey Rourke as well, so why wouldn't you? Okay. And the third thing was I played a game last night called it came out on PlayStation Plus on Tuesday called Fall Guys, and it's free on Plus if you've got that, and it's basically like a kind of cartoon version of Takeshi's Castle and all them kind of mad Japanese game shows, and you go through rounds and rounds, and it's a battle royale. It's a last man standing, and it's 60 player online. So the servers are actually fixed now. There was problems at the start, but it's ridiculous. And it's one of them games that's really fun and you get really engaged with it, but you want to smash your controller in half as well when you make the slightest mistake. And
I want to play that.
As of recording, I haven't won one. I haven't got a crown yet. I haven't come first, not once. I've got to the third round of maybe 6 or 7. But yeah, Fall Guys on PlayStation Plus, it's great.
I'm wondering if my rickety laptop might play it because it's on Windows. On Windows, you can play it through Steam.
On Xbox?
No. I think it must be a PlayStation exclusive, but googling it now, Microsoft Windows, you can play it. So presumably you can play it on PC. I'll give that a go. That sounds proper up my street. That does that.
Yeah, that looks dumb fun. Yeah. Matt, what about yourself?
A couple of things. First of all, been watching Gomorrah, the Italian crime drama series, based on the book by Saviano. Basically set in Naples, Italian crime drama. I think I might have mentioned it before. To be fair, really enjoying that though. It's getting to the point where it's creeping up into the godlike tier of TV category, alongside kind of Breaking Bad and a program called Utopia, which I don't think too many people have watched, but it really is worth a watch. On the back of that, though, watching Gomorrah, I do have a bit of a love affair with Italy, and I've only been to Rome, and I really do want to explore. But Asif Kapadia's Maradona documentary that was released a few years ago.
Oh, yes.
It's just amazing. It really is just an excellent documentary about the trials and tribulations of, in my opinion, probably the greatest footballer of all time, Diego Maradona. And one thing that I want to give one insight to anybody that is kind of thinking about watching it. They talk about how Naples is considered the toilet of Italy, or especially at the time when Maradona was so prevalent at Napoli. Italians don't like Neapolitans and vice versa. And Maradona was such a hero in Naples that when Italy played Argentina in the World Cup, Naples as a city decided, fuck this, we're not supporting Italy, we're going to support Argentina. Their country supported their rivals in, I think, the semi-final of the World Cup because of Diego Maradona. Such was the influence of the man and his success. It's a really excellent documentary, and anybody that is into football, you're doing yourself a disjustice by not watching it. The other thing that I've been watching as I only watched it last night, actually, more of a throwaway, trying to find something to switch my mind off to. I watched Jumanji: The Next Level. And you know what? Just like the first one, thoroughly enjoyable, really enjoyable. A little bit of a twist in the casting. I can't say too much. I mean, it's not a major spoiler, but it's not quite what you expect from the casting and the characters that are played. But it was a good romp, really fun. As usual, Jack Black is excellent in it. And I think it was just one of those films that, yes, you can switch off and not enjoy it, but there's nothing to be guilty about this film. It's just something to enjoy, and they've set it up for a third, and I hope there is one. And I'd be really looking forward to watching it if there was.
Yeah. They got away with it twice, because the first time they did it, it had no right to be as good as it was. So the second time was bound to be shit, and it wasn't. It was really good again. Yeah, I hope they don't spoil it, but I do hope they do a third one too. I'm very much on the same boat as you there, mate. So, question 2 this week. That's yourself, Stu.
Mine, this strange question this week was, if you could take a film that's set in a particular place and set it in England, yet still make it worthwhile. So my example of this was, what did I even say? It was something about 8 Mile set in Brighton.
Yeah.
So for that kind of thing. So we'll go back to Matt first for this one.
Easy peasy, this one. I knew straight away when I heard this. So I want to take, and it's been done sort of. It wasn't the same film, like rebooted or anything. But I want to take Battle Royale, and I want to set that in the UK. So I want to take the Japanese Battle Royale. For those who haven't watched it, unruly school children across Japan, they come up with a new measure, Battle Royale. I don't want to do the film a disservice by saying this, and it's not. It's so much better than but it's the Hunger Games without me having to explain it to anybody. It's the Hunger Games, but with school kids. But it's very gory. It's not quite horror, but it's very gory, very, very violent and brutal. And I think if you did it in the UK or in England, you'd be able to do all the cliche kind of school things. You know, you got your bullies, your nerds, your grebos, everything, and you could put that into a film and it'd be really entertaining. You can put it in, I don't know, put it wherever you want. But it's Sherwood Forest, if you like. I don't care really, but I just think it would be a really good way of getting some of these kind of stereotypical school children archetypes that we have, and it'd still be really entertaining. But they would have to make it as brutal and gory and as, you know, blood violent as it is.
Yeah, it proper ratchets up that the stereotypical 90s Japanese ultra-violence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just a trickle of blood, it is a squirt of blood.
Oh yeah,
great film though. I've still not seen the sequel yet though. Requiem, is it the sequel?
It's meant to be absolute dog shit, so I haven't for that reason. I don't want to ruin it for myself.
I have got it, I just haven't got round to it because the first one's so good. I just can't be asked to watch anything but that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. My answer. I've got two answers, of course. First one is actually a twist on it. It's a book that was set in the UK that they then transported to the States, and it worked perfectly well. And that is High Fidelity, the Nick Hornby book. Reading the book, it's very, very UK set. It probably shouldn't work as a film set in the States, but when it does, and I think especially going to Chicago, so it's got that sort of post-grunge sort of feel to it, the music and everything, and it just fits perfectly. I think Jack Black is perfectly cast in that film, as is John Cusack, who obviously is one of our friends from previous films. So just a nod towards High Fidelity as a film that did the opposite. I had to rack my brains to think of a film that could work and you could actually build on it, and the film I'm going for is Bridesmaids. I think you could do it, set it in maybe the 90s when we had that more of the loaded ladette culture. So you had like your Kathy Burkes and that type of actor for it. I think you could really make something of it. Yeah. Because we always see in American films that women in American comedies especially, they're all very, I don't want to say straight-laced, but they're never really allowed to just be gross-out comedians like they were here. But that gross-out comedy coming from the UK, we sort of saw we grew up with these kind of women, really, didn't we? You know, these ones who would just piss around and have a laugh. They were never really represented in film. So I think you could take Bridesmaids and set it anywhere in the UK you wanted. You could set it right here in Wolverhampton in the 1990s, and it would be perfect. It would work to a T.
Would she be? I don't know. Would Victoria Wood make that if it's from the 90s? If it was made in the 90s,
her blue stuff would, yeah.
So I'm wondering. Yeah. I'm trying to think of that like ladette kind of. Who else would cast in that?
You're talking Zoe Ball kind of Sarah Cox kind of level, but actresses.
Yeah.
And are you trying to think? There isn't many actresses. Well, have they met? They've never acted, have they? But first time for everything, so why not?
Yeah, chuck them in there.
Bend it like Beckham, Keira Knightley, innit?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have someone like maybe Samantha Morton, who's got decent comedic chops, but you never really get to see them when she's in films like Minority Report, or obviously she's doing, or was doing, spoiler alert, Walking Dead. So, you know, I think there were some actors around who never really got the opportunity, and I think Bridesmaids could have been a great vehicle for some of them.
You know what we're missing one out here? Sam Janis.
Sam Janis, like Mrs. 1990s, yeah.
Yeah, perfect for it. But mine was, it's a bit of a cheat really, but Ex Machina, and set it in Cambridge.
Good film, that is.
And you think of every time you have clever English people in films, they're always the bad guy, and that's even Sean Bean normally. So why not just flip it on its head and have the tech genius in England? It worked perfectly. I mean, you ain't going to get Miami Vice in Southend. That wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ex Machina, English version, superb, and twisting the formula a bit like When we talk about District 9 being set in South Africa rather than the usual invasion places, how good that was and how well that worked. It's just the same kind of thing.
Yeah. And as well, if you did that, I would keep Donald Gleeson in the outsider viewer role. He was perfect for that role, and obviously setting it in the UK, he could still be his generally, happy-go-lucky Irish self. I think he'd be a perfect casting. But who would you go with for the Oscar Isaac role? It would need to be someone like devastatingly handsome, but very British and intelligent.
Stephen
Fry.
I was going to say that kind of comes on to your question, Debbie. You put me on the spot there. I'm trying to think. The guy who's in Poldark, I suppose, him.
Oh yes, the one from Being Human. The vampire in Being Human. Yeah, when I was down in that region like a year or so ago, there was everywhere. Just like it's a bit like how when you walk around Birmingham now, everything is Peaky Blinders.
Oh,
being down in that neck of the woods, everything was Poldark. Yeah, it was quite interesting. So moving on to the next question then, which is going to be my question this week, which Stu has set me up nicely for. Me and Stu had a conversation not too long ago about Hamilton, as we all want to do several times a day. And now, I said to Stu that there are a few roles, if I ever got the chance to do musical theatre, I would love to play. So my question to you two is, if you were given the chance to replace anybody in a film, who would it be? The only proviso is it's you as you are now. So if you wanted to replace Stallone in Rocky, you would have to be Rocky as you are now. So, Stu, let's see what you've got to say.
It's always like this. The easy answer is replace myself with Mark Addy in the Full Monty. But with a bit of toning, replace Liam Neeson in Taken. So,
that would be a fun role to play, I think.
Bit of jumping around, bit of shouting, bit of bang bang. That's all you need. And if you had that kind of impetus, you're going to have a few $1 million if you get in a bit of shape and don't eat kebab every week, then I'm pretty sure I could do that. I don't know about the accent bit, but the rest would work.
It's a good answer. I like that. Matt, who are you going to be?
Easy peasy Japanese. This is. It's no secret that I'm a massive professional wrestling fan, and in the right light, I've been known to resemble Jack Black. So in that case, I want to be Nacho Libre. I really love the film. I think it's hilarious. I don't think it gets anywhere near the credit it deserves, and it has some really, really funny lines in it. And I just think it's one of those silly wrestling films that I almost like, that non-wrestling fans don't appreciate it because it's my film. You can't have it, kind of thing. So, and I think I've got the body for it. So there we go. So I'd want to be Nacho Libre.
I used to get a lot of comparisons to Jack Black when I was younger. When I used to have my long hair and obviously the beard as well, and obviously being a bigger dude. Yeah, I think it's just what we're there for. Oh, you look like Jack Black. I really fucking don't. I've just got a beard.
Exactly.
Yeah, but how many other people are in that time? How many other people had a beard though? Because there weren't that many.
True. I mean, I've had a beard since I was about 18, 19. So yeah, there, like you say, there weren't many. It was mostly just clean shaven or cat lick, and that was about it.
And this is the most I can grow at 36. So, which for everyone listening is nothing.
You should just leave it go. Give it 6 months, and if there's nothing, then
what was it? When I did it the last time, and it was about 2 months, and nothing happened. It was like it was like the equivalent to when you put your hand when you sit in the bath for too long, and you go all wrinkly. But then as soon as you get out, it it's fine again. It was like that. I'd leave it for ages, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to wake up and it's better," and it just goes back to normal. You know, the hair just grow back into myself.
Right. Okay. My answer. I've just basically stuck with the musical one. I would love a go at being Javert in Les Miserables. I mean, if Russell Crowe can do it, I mean, he can't sing for shit either. So I think I'd be fine at that role. I'd quite like to do that. Or the dentist from Little Shop of Horrors. Because Steve Martin just chews the scenery like nobody's business. And you can tell he had a riot on set doing that one. So those two for me would be, they'd be my dream roles given the chance.
Amazing.
So, Matt, it's on to yourself.
Quite a simple one for me this week. I want to know, well, I want you to tell me, I should say, which reboot is better than the original. Or maybe not better, at least as good as, if not better than the original. Stu.
There's one that stuck in my mind straight away. And obviously, because I mentioned it about 4 times since we've been doing this, The Fly, which is a remake of a 50s film, which is a remake of a 30s or 20s, 30s film. The other one was The Thing, which again, that's a bit subjective because the original, well, the older version is kind of schlocky horror. But no, I think for me, Ocean's 11 all day long.
Yeah,
I much prefer the Clooney Rat Pack to the originals. I think that they cast it perfectly. The vibe's the same, and it just works better for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, the original film is not a good movie. It just seemed like it was a bunch of mates who were getting pissed and then would go on camera. Like it didn't really work for me. I think they probably had more fun off camera than they did on camera. So that's a good shout, that is. For me, I was going to say The Wicker Man because I am so looking forward to when we finally get round to doing that film. So, I mean, reboot, remake, reimagining. I'll go back and I'll mention Little Shop of Horrors again. I don't know if either of you have ever seen the original, which I think is a 40s film, Vincent Price. It's not a particularly interesting film. It's black and white, very low budget. It's a bit of a drag, really. Not very interesting. And then it was remade in the 80s with Rick Moranis by Frank Oz. And it's just a rip-roaring, fun musical. Great. So that's a good shout, I think, Little Shop of Horrors. The other one I really enjoyed, that the original didn't do anything, was the St. Trinian's film. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. The sequel didn't quite catch on because I think they could have made a whole series of movies out of it in the end, but they didn't. But yeah, the St. Trinian's remake, the first one, really good, really fun movie. I think that's worth anyone's time. And also it's not a remake. I suppose you'd call this a reboot. Would be the Child's Play film that was released last year.
Yeah. With
Mark Hamill voicing Chucky. Obviously, it was a film about technophobia rather than voodoo magic. Really good film, proper B-movie level horror, great fun. I'm a big fan of the original film, the original 3. I think once it became a knowing in-joke, it stopped being funny, which is often the way. Once you're in on the joke, you sort of lose a little bit of its luster. But the first 3 Child's Play films, wonderful. And then the reboot that was released, I'm sure it was only last year. Great movie, well worth your time. How about yourself, Matt?
Well, I don't know this for fact, but I reckon if I was in the room with Stu now, he'd hurt me physically. If I can't guarantee this, but I'm going to say it's definitely better than the original. Would be Dredd, the Judge Dredd remake or reboot, which was 2012 with Carl Urban as Judge Dredd.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, thank God. Because, I just assumed because of the kind of the era that it was in, that you might be much more Stallone than
I think that this is going back to Goldie's question. This is why Stallone gets bad points, because that's a diabolical film.
Yeah. I don't know if it was so bad it's good or one of those things that you grew up with. I just think that Dredd was just really excellently done. It was, you know what made it for me, and it sounds so silly. During the edit, I'll splice the audio in. Instead of having to shout, "I am the law," he whispers it because he's that much of a fucking badass that like he doesn't need to shout. And he, what's the name? What's the It might be. I don't think it's Taiwanese. The Raid. You ever seen The Raid?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got those vibes. It's really excellent. Like over the top violent. There's a running theme with films that I enjoy. It's over the top, gratuitously violent. And it's just really well put together. Great plot. Lena Headey is in it as well. Don't watch the trailer though if you haven't seen it, because it pretty much gives away the ending of the film in the trailer. So if you're going to watch it on the basis of anything, just watch it flat out. But I think it's much better than the hokey sliced alone Judge Dredd. So I mean, does that fall into your wheelhouse from a comic book point of view, Andy?
Yeah, massively. I haven't read a huge amount of 2000 AD, but what I have read is ultra violent, and I think this is much closer to that than the original Judge Dredd film, which just seemed to be a vehicle for Sylvester Stallone to dress up, to be perfectly honest. He didn't really offer anything. But Lena Headey is fantastic in that film. Yeah, I mean, Carl Urban's good, but he's a very understated performance, whereas Lena Headey gets to just let herself go and be completely over the top, and she really steals every scene she's in. I'm a big fan of Cersei Lannister. She's just incredible. She's one of those actors.
And I think because for that exact reason, she's always going to be known as Cersei Lannister now for all time. Yeah. But this is such a departure from that. Her role in this is such a departure from that. It's really good to see that.
Massively.
It's just reminding me now. I can't believe we've done 15 weeks of this now, something like that. And this film has never been mentioned yet by me. And coming to Todd's question earlier on about guilty pleasures and films that weren't rated that are excellent. I have to just double check, but in Judge Dredd from the 90s stars a certain Rob Schneider, who, yes, you know exactly what I'm going to say.
God, yeah.
Juice Bigelow, American Gigolo, is one of the. that and Freddie Got Fingered in that kind of set of years. Them two films are incredible.
Christ. I don't think I've seen the sequel. European Gigolo, is it?
Yeah, it's not as good. But it's, you ain't got the fish tank situation and all that stuff. But yeah, it's again a product of its time.
Where do you gentlemen stand on the Planet of the Apes new trilogy compared to the original 5 or 6?
I think they're sensational. I really, really do. I can't like the original ones as we know it. They're a victim of the technology of the time and special effects and everything. They just seem so hokey. Like it just reminds me of like Sunday afternoon films that it just does nothing. But the newest ones, there's not that many films that I will go out of my way to see on the day they're released, but I did with these films. Okay. Oddly, the newest Predator film was one of those that I did regret it afterwards. But no, I think they're excellent. Really, really well done.
Yeah, the originals were ones which I watched them with my granddad, like again when I was there, like you're saying, like middle of the day kind of things. And weirdly, when I talked about quadrilogies last week, about Alien quadrilogy, apart from that, the other box set I bought with my first student loan was the complete Planet of the Apes box set of the original films.
Yeah,
and they're all on there. They do not stand up at all. But you have got to think that it could have been completely ruined forever with the nonsense version that we have mentioned before already. That Tim Burton tried to ruin with Helena Bonham Carter again. And it's just, I think, the new ones. That could be a perfect trilogy in itself, actually. Now we're going back a couple of weeks. But yeah, I love them. They're really, really good.
Yeah, they're so excellently well made. And Andy Serkis. I do think there needs to be a category in the Oscars for that type of performance, because it just gets completely overlooked every time.
I want to throw a bonus question in, if that's okay with you guys. This is fresh off the press. This is so new. No one's going to have heard this. No, it's not. Seth Rogen today ruled out a Superbad sequel, saying that he's never going to beat the original. He's never going to get it any better than he had it, so he doesn't want to do another one. Where do you guys think Superbad stands up in terms of films to define a generation and films like American Pie and those kind of films in terms of the greatest? Because for me, I can't watch it enough. Superbad. I think it's amazing. In the same way that I said that The Inbetweeners defines a British generation, Superbad does it for me in terms of American. So where does it stand for you two in terms of a film?
For me, it's a very good film, and I'm a big fan of Seth Rogen's work. I think I might be just a little bit too old, so my generation would be defined by your American Pies. That was our version of the Revenge of the Nerds, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Superbad is an excellent film. It's very well made. It doesn't quite have the same resonance for me as your American Pie, personally.
Fair. Absolutely fair.
Yeah, I love it, and it's made the right decision. It wouldn't work. You wouldn't get the cop situation again.
No chance.
You can't. You just be clowning it with what you're going to do with the military this time. It just wouldn't work. So just leave it on its own. I mean, with the American Pie, was a reunion with the last one.
Yeah.
I thought that was.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That came full circle where that seemed like it was getting out of control with too many, and then the spin-off video ones, which weren't bad, but that brought it back full circle, and that was excellent. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to be going all around the raking to get a decent film again years down the line. So, yeah, just leave it as it is, as a touchstone from that kind of, say that generation, because it's probably, I won't even say, I know what you're saying, Andy, because we grew up with American Pie when we were, 10, 11, something like that. I can't remember.
Well, I think I was 17 maybe when the sequel was out, so probably about 15 when the first time was out. I think it was 99, 98 maybe, something like that. 99.
Yeah. So yeah, I was 14, 15.
Yeah.
When I saw that, so yeah, it's probably as teen. Saying Superbad's not a teen movie at all, is it? It's,
no.
So I think it came around at the right kind of time for me at the time. So the same way that American Pie did, the same way that Freddie Got Fingered and all the other nonsense did, and Road Trip as well. All them kind of films that would never get made today.
Yeah. I loved Road Trip. I'm a big fan of Amy Smart. I'm so glad to see her back on Stargirl at the minute. I had the biggest crush on Amy Smart when I was a kid. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased to see her back.
And
no, she looks incredible. Still looks like almost the same. To say it's been 20 years almost since Road Trip. Yeah. But for me, a film of that ilk, and this actually ties in a little bit with Ash Dolan's question. So a film that was absolutely slaughtered, but I enjoyed, was Van Wilder.
Party Liaison.
Yeah, I love that film.
Yeah.
And again, that's very much of the, the university age guy, which I think I probably was when I saw it. Maybe just college coming towards uni. And I really enjoyed that film. That's a guilty pleasure, definitely, for me. Right, so next week, we're going to be diving into the world of the superheroes for the first time. We're going to be looking at Cage's work in Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. If you thought that next was the drizzling shits, put your seatbelt on with these shit shows. Again, thank you for joining us this week. Please remember to subscribe. That way we'll show up every week in your feed. If you can leave us a 5-star review, that would really help us grow as well, because it just gets more eyes, and apparently it helps with the analytics. I don't know how it works, but that's what I'm told. Remember to give us a follow on the Twitters, @CageFightingPod. And if you've got any cinema stories, or you want to tell us any of our answers are wrong, drop us an email, cagefightingpod@gmail.com. And for this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye. See you on the next one.
Matt, would you like to say goodbye?
Take it easy, guys. Stay safe.
And from me, I'll say see you next time, and remember, be excellent to each other.